AMC stock back in the green yet again today for the third consecutive day in a row. Mainly, this is due to the courts denying this ape settlement and not lifting the status quo order. But on top of that, fundamentally, it looks like theaters have been benefiting from a strong start to the year in the box office. Warner Brothers, Mario, that movie that just came out, which I have not been fortunate enough to go see, that I've heard a lot of good things about, beat expectations yesterday. And that is what helped AMC stock rally as well. Now, ultimately, I think it comes down to the courts, and I think that is ultimately the important thing in regards to AMC and where AMC's stock price goes from here. I think that's a well-known, obvious fact, but the fundamentals supporting the business supports the case that maybe the judge is not going to side with AMC, or at least it's not going to be as cut and dry. Anything that delays this reverse split is bad for the shorts, which would be good for AMC's share price. So I think there's multiple different factors that are definitely playing a role to AMC's recent rally. Now, we're going to look at the technicals here in just a second, because today you broke above the 50-day moving average. You're not above that right now. AMC is up about 1.31% at the time of recording this video, and it's a very volatile day overall, so we're gonna definitely want to watch that level into the end of the day. But if we go ahead and get into the ortex data, you guys will see cost to borrow rates from interactive brokers are spiking a lot, and I don't even know if a lot is the right word. Cost to borrow rates went from 390% yesterday to 842% here today. That's a big jump. That's a 452% increase just in the course of about 12 hours. And I think it goes to show more shorts are getting kind of weary in these positions as people start to weigh the odds and the risk to reward heading into this court day, April 27th. I think that's going to give us more bullishness in AMC stock. And if it does, well, that's going to tell you something. That's going to tell you that, you know, shorts are getting jumpy, but there's a good chance that the courts do not let this go through the way it is. And I had an interesting comment in the last video that someone said, why wouldn't the courts just approve this? Because after all, 87% of APE and AMC shareholders voted yes for this. And the main reason comes down to you're looking at 80, 85, 90, 95% dilution potentially. That's going to affect your investment big time. Now, one would say that AMC is not in a position where they need to do that could be very harmful for shareholders. That could do more harm than it could do good. And that is really what the judge is going to look at heading into April 27th. But even more on top of that is, why was the vote 87%? Where did the votes come from? Well, the argument was that AMC diluted AMC common stockholders' votes by including these APE votes, in which APE would be the one to benefit from this conversion. So AMC sparked a trade, and it's no surprise 87% of shareholders voted for this. If hedge funds, institutions started buying up millions and millions of APE shares, we've talked about the filings before. Millennial Capital Management just came out on March 31st and disclosed ownership of 50 million APE shares. That's quite a bit. You got Intera Capital that owns over 200 million shares, and those are only two firms, two funds. So long story short, I think you're going to be bullish here for a while, but I don't think you're going to get that big breakout until April 27th. And then after that, mark my words. I mean, I could be wrong, so I'm not a financial advisor. Come to your own conclusions. Your situation is different from mine, different from this person and that person. So come to your own conclusions, do your own due diligence, all of that good stuff. Quick disclaimer, but I firmly think AMC is going to rally after April 27th. And to see AMC bullish from now until then would not surprise me. And that's ultimately what I expect when shorts are so weighted to a downside move. It doesn't take a lot of doubt to get you a substantial upside move. If you take a look at the option activity, we've covered this many times now over the last couple of days. But if we take a look at the option activity for April 28th, the day after court, the total open interest for this whole entire option chain, 88.22% of it is puts. 11.78% is calls. Now, this is up about 2% since the start of this week, when the open interest for the calls was at about 9.77%. So almost 2% exactly, has the calls open interest went higher. And I think you will see this correlation. If calls start to make their way to 20%, 25, 30, 35%, I think just those numbers alone would cause AMC stock to rise heading into April 28th. So you are seeing this number going higher here today. And, I do think there will be a correlation between that number going higher and AMC stock going higher, because these numbers right now tell you that everyone and their brother, aunts, uncles, grandmas, cousins, whatever, everyone thinks AMC is going to fall on April 28th. I'm not so certain, and I think people will start to look at this more logically as you head into April 28th. Now, the option activity for the day, you have seen 32 orders totaling $13.13 million. Hopefully that is lucky. Positive order value of 2%, not looking so lucky. Now, a lot of the options that you're seeing on AMC here today are for that April 21st and the April 14th expiration. So some of those weekly options are really starting to populate. Not as much on April 28th, but I do think as we get closer, that will continue to happen. Now, if we take a look back at the short interest numbers, 25.14% short interest of free float, 130 million shares currently sold short. Looks like about 423,000 shares that have been sold short here today, with cost to borrow average of 925.2%, cost to borrow max at 1,030%, and cost to borrow minimum at about 8%, give or take, right? Last we knew it was 368%. Interactive brokers is 842%. Somewhere in the middle there is probably where these short positions are being taken out. And I know a lot of people say the cost of borrow rates don't matter, but they absolutely do. 20% is high. Not to mention hundreds of percents. If you're actually taking out a short position, which I encourage you guys just to get a reference of this, just do it once. I mean, that's not financial advice. If you don't know how, you can't afford to, whatever your case is, then don't do it. But if you did do it, then you would know that, hey, these cost of borrow rates are insane. And I'm not saying short AMC. I'm saying take out a short position on another stock that has super high cost of borrow rates. If you guys want to experiment with that, if that's something you can incorporate into your trading strategy, you will see that cost of borrow rates in the hundreds of percent range. If you can find a stock with cost of borrow rates that high, it really does start to hurt. So it definitely does matter. Now, if we click on the overview here, the free flow out on loans went down a little bit, actually sitting at about 38.69%, down just a little bit. The amount of AMC that is currently sold short has went up by about $179 million here in just the last 7 days, sitting at $677.98 million. Days to cover last we got was about 5.5 with 100% share utilization. So these numbers are looking better than they have since June. So you're very much primed for a squeeze here. You need to get a catalyst, and I do think that catalyst is right around the corner, and I do think it makes sense to play some options on AMC heading into April 28th, because the expectations are so high for so much bearishness. Even if the court date is bearish, it has to be like very bearish for AMC's near-term share price, or the stock's probably going to rally from here. Right? It's all down to expectations. Now, on another note, let's take a look at the news that came out today. And that is, well, it was updated today. And it is the Super Mario Bros. Movie has just broke some records. So it says Comcast Corp's Universal Pictures and Illumination's Super Mario Bros. Movie took in 146.36 million over Easter weekend in the United States, according to Box Office Mojo. Enough to make it the biggest opening so far this year. It took in 204.5 million in the first 5 days since it opened last Wednesday. Quote, that easily exceeded its lofty box office projections, which anticipated that the family film would collect about 140 million. So the underlying, and that's said from analyst Mike Hickey, wrote in a note to clients. Now, I think that's a positive thing, right? To see the fundamental business hopefully doing well. We're not really hearing direct numbers from AMC, but pretty good. AMC did say, quote, it's a super Easter weekend for AMC theaters in the United States. The stock has soared 34% amid a 3-day winning streak that started after it closed at a 3-month low of $3.91 on April 4th. So it's been a couple good days back to back, and I do think that does continue. And it's going to be fueled by everything that we have talked about thus far here in this video. Now, on another note, you did not get any new data today. You have not gotten anything that has came out that could move the markets. We talked about this. Tuesday is your slow day. Tuesday, today, you really don't have anything. You have a 3-year bond auction that comes in at 1 p.m. and then Fed Harker that speaks at 4 p.m. and Fed Kashkari that speaks at 7:30 p.m. But that's all after markets close. Coming tomorrow, though, you're going to get those CPI numbers. Now, interestingly enough, banks, I should say, and analysts are expecting the headline CPI numbers to come down and the month-over-month headline CPI to come down, but they're all expecting month-over-month core CPI to actually go higher. So you're going to get a weird dynamic, if they are correct here, to see core inflation re-accelerating and headline inflation dropping. And a lot of that would be fueled by food and energy, which is not included in the core CPI reading that we do get. So food and energy falling the way that they have over the last 3 months. They're starting to go higher here now, but CPI is already done for the month of March. There's it doesn't even matter. OPEC came out just about a week ago and did that in early April. So a lot of people are saying it could be short-lived, but you are expecting inflation to come down on the headline based off of food and energy, but you are expecting core to re-accelerate again. And that's not going to be a good thing because it's not going to let the Fed pause when inflation is this high. The Fed's going to have to stay higher for longer and, give us more of a slow and steady kind of policy until something does break. Tomorrow, you're also, on top of CPI at 2 p.m., going to get the FOMC minutes. I can't recall another day where you got CPI and another big catalyst. Maybe it's happened in the past, but I can't recall it. And that's basically a transcript of the last Fed meeting. And what they have to say, especially around the banking crisis, will be very important. Now, AMC, on a technical basis, if you look at this stock, you want to look at this purple line right here, or whatever color it is on your screen, for the 50-day moving average. It's currently sitting at $5.36 per share. You're currently at $5.34 per share. If you can close even a penny higher than $5.36 per share, if you can close at $5.37 or $5.40, that's going to be insanely positive. At the high today, you hit $5.45 per share. And if you close up there, that's a very positive development because, you've gotten rejected at this level every single time you have approached it. Once, twice, 3 times now, and today would be the 4th time if you close under that. So a close above that could lead you to either stay really range bound in between these moving averages or gap up above the next moving average, which is the 100-day moving average at $5.57 per share, and make your way closer to about $6 per share. Now, I will tell you guys, the higher we go into April 28th, the less of a rally that I would expect, because it would imply that sentiment is changing. The reason I'm so bullish about April 28th is because nobody else is. People think that it's, straight dilution from here and the judge is going to green light this. I'm not in that camp where I think everything's going to go as planned. I just don't think that. So I think another court date, I think another vote, I think something like that is in the cards here, and that's something that would be very bullish in the short term for AMC's share price that markets are not expecting. Now, if AMC rips to $8, $9 per share by, April 28th, then we could have a different conversation. I still expect a rally either way, but the percentages, what could ultimately happen after April 28th would change a little bit. And that's why I do think right now might be a good time to even look at some of those options, especially if you do close above that 50-day moving average. That would be a pretty clear sign to me we're probably going a lot higher from here, guys. So that is going to do it for this intraday update. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.